Sailors of Reddit, what is one thing about the open ocean that most people don't know about? I was a submariner, so my experience is going to vary widely from most other sailors. I had the misfortune of being on the periscope all the time. Mostly it was long, tedious staring at the horizon. Because of the long periods of one-eyed use, we were allowed to use eye patches, and it was a kind of consolation. The pirate jokes. Once while tracing the coast, somewhat west of Catalina, I saw a gigantic pod of dolphins, leaping and playing in the water. Mind you, we were at periscope depth, and I was watching them through the periscope. We hardly bothered the water, and so they didn't disperse like they do for surface boats. The line of them went from one horizon to the other, and there had to be hundreds of them, leaping, stirring up the water, dancing for mates. I couldn't tell you how long a line they made, but it was incredible. It was the single most beautiful thing I ever experienced while in the Navy, and among the best of my whole life. Edit. Thanks a lot, folks. My first dive into the world of Reddit will be hard to beat. Whales can sneak up on you, and they are huge. This is my nightmare. Sadly, no matter how far out you go, you will always see trash. I was expecting a beautiful ending. Sadly, no matter how far out you go, you will never find happiness. If you put a warm beer into a sock, attach it to some fishing line, and lower it a few feet down and drag it for a little while, you'll have a cold beer in no time flat. Acres of jellyfish. It's creepy. I remember pulling into Thailand. You could practically walk on them. I used to sit at the bow of my parents' sailing boat. As the boat dipped, I would use my feet to scoop them out of the water and send them flying. As a kid, you would get bored on long journeys, and torturing mindless floaty blobs was good fun. I don't know who named them swells. There's nothing swell about them. They should have named them awfuls. No matter what we do, nature will always be more powerful than you. I was on my destroyer in the Yellow Sea, skirting the edge of a typhoon, and the wind buffeting the ship, the waves smashing into the hull. That was the most convinced I've ever been that my ship was going to be destroyed. We pulled into port a week later to discover that there were significant cracks in the forward part of the keel from the ship getting crushed by waves. Terrifying. Oh. And you have to stand watch during that while seasick, exhausted, and on the lookout for a North Korean sub that just sank a South Korean warship. Easily the lowest point in my life. There are a lot more small uninhabited atolls and islands than a lot of people know. I sailed from North Florida to Mexico. About 7 days. And I mean sailed. Not a ship. A sailboat. The dirty little secret of sailing. The rotten part isn't the storms. Those are kind of fun and challenging. The rotten part is when there is no wind at all and you go nowhere and you bob up and down endlessly and the limp sails just bang back and forth randomly for 48 hours or so. You will lose your mind. Sailed from California to Hawaii, 19 days, and can confirm. We had 3 straight days with no wind at the end of our trip. Although the wave crashing completely over the top of the boat was pretty bad too. If you're in the water, you're in the food chain. And not at the top, like you're used to being. Interesting question. Really? It's both. The open ocean is, for the most part, a desert. But just like the Sahara, it may appear lifeless, but in reality it's teeming with critters. You can spend days, weeks, and months not seeing anything but water. A smattering of birds. A few fish breaking the surface. Every once in a while, you get one of those magic moments where the entire area around you just explodes with life. Timing is everything. When you watch one of those nature documentaries, whether it's on terrestrial or aquatic wildlife, those photographers spend months filming, all to get a few good moments of action. The sky and the clouds are totally different than over land. Also, Waves generally will come in patterns averaging 7 peaks to a set, where the 7th is the highest and carries the most momentum. Here's another thing people don't think about: being out to sea is pretty much the closest thing we have to being in outer space. There's nothing separating you from your doom. Save for a cold metal hull. You're totally on your own, and only subject to the rules of the sea. There's nothing creepier than to see your map tell you you're floating on top of 5 miles of nothing but dark. Deep down below, a part of your consciousness goes to that great depth, and you shudder at the horror of the unknowable. Edit. Thanks for the ups. The ocean is a beautiful and thoroughly deadly place. While serving aboard a Navy frigate and weathering a storm a ways off the coast of Nova Scotia, I saw lightning hit the top of a rogue wave that was looming 50 feet over the bow at that moment. It was beautiful, and the instant I saw it I knew that I would never see anything else like that, and I doubt that anyone ever captures a picture like what I saw. There were forks of lightning reaching down into that wave for dozens of feet. It was like looking at a brilliantly glowing mountain of emerald and jade. A brilliantly glowing mountain that was about to fall on you. The instant the lightning faded, the ship plowed into that wave. Bow on. And the wave broke over the 3rd level of the superstructure. 3 stories up from the main deck. I was on that 3rd level, and if not for a safety strap, would have been lost. At that time I had never seen such weather before. Over 100 feet of bow forward of the superstructure speared into that wave, and when it broke over the windbreak, I will tell you that had you been there, you wouldn't scoff at that carrier sailor's reference to solid water in another post. In Navy speak, green water over the bow means that you've got a lot of water breaking over the ship. Not just a little foam and spray, but water of some noticeable depth. It was like colliding with a wall. The hull rang from the impact, and the ship lost almost all forward momentum immediately. The ship began to groan and shudder along her whole length as she shouldered upwards and shed who can tell how many tons of water. There were many other waves that night, but I know which one left the inch-wide cracks in the superstructure amidships. I know that the ocean contains beautiful and otherworldly vistas not to be seen anywhere else on this earth. And I know that the ocean is utterly lethal. TLDR. Saw lightning hit a huge wave and then survived said wave hitting my ship. Many thanks to my mysterious gold benefactor. You are too kind. I am now resplendent. I coruscate. An narwhal horn is actually a long tooth packed with thousands of nerve endings. And it can sense things like water temperature and salinity. It has no known equivalent anywhere else in the animal world. How big it is. Seriously. The ocean is huge. If you're not on one of the main shipping routes, then you can go weeks without seeing another ship. Especially if you're out in the middle of the Pacific somewhere. I really needed to experience for myself to really understand how big it is. One of my first trips was a 24-day voyage. You know before departure that you are going to be at sea for a long time. But only after 2 weeks at sea and knowing that there is more than a week left before you see land again. Does the size of the ocean really set in? Nothing like the ocean to put things into perspective. It's so vast. You and your puny little problems. Your GF is mad at you. You hate your parents. Bills. 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 Who cares? The sea doesn't. The ocean is the closest I'll ever come to seeing the future or time traveling into the past. Heaving. Roiling or glass smooth. The sea is what it is. As it always has been and as it ever will be. The green flash. It's real. Former Marine here. I was on ship for a good 6 months for a float. There are massive groups of fish that swim by all the time. I know this because I spent the majority of my time on the smoke deck, and I swear I thought that half the time they were trying to jump up there and slap me in the face. Also, seeing a storm from far away in the middle of the ocean is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Really wish I could have had a camera while I was there. A cruise ship can screw up your whole night. There is so much light on one of those floating fog lamps that you can see the light on the horizon for hours before they come into view. When they pass within 5 miles you can't see the stars anymore. My wife wants me to take her on a cruise, but I am resisting. I cherish the memories of long night watches. where the satellites look like shooting stars. I don't want to replace that with crying kids and spotlights. The ocean can always surprise you with its appearance. Every day. Even if you see nothing but open water, Mother Ocean will have a different face. Some faces are terrible to behold. Some are so beautiful and striking. They touch your soul. I did 5 patrols on a Trident missile carrying submarine. We drive in circles and hide in the middle of nowhere. There's no windows like Jules Verne suggests. For all I know, we were tied to the pier the entire time, with the Incredible Hulk rocking the boat back and forth. Edit, Ruffalo. Boys. It can actually be as still as a flat plane of glass. My husband was in the Navy and said that absolute stillness on the ocean can be distinctly unnerving. Around any country besides the US, the local skiff-dhow population does not have the sense to move out of the way of a ducking aircraft carrier. Move, you little sheets, I will run you over. The ocean is a beautiful but boring place. I remember once I was out underway for about 3 months. And for a week straight we sailed through a giant fog and couldn't see anything 3 feet away from the lifelines of the ship. Then one day I was out smoking and we broke through it. And seeing a giant cloud on the water was really ducking cool. And yeah, seeing fish and dolphins every now and then was awesome. Sometimes you'd see a bird. And you're like, where the duck did you come from? Lol, a lot of interesting things happen out there. But it's a matter of timing. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning. Depends on the day. If it is cloudy out or overcast, the ocean seems empty. When it is sunny, it seems to come more alive. I have seen turtles, flying fish, and dolphins on those days. However, the ocean is best at night, when there is no moon out. It is just completely dark and your eyes just cannot adjust to so little light. I was in the Navy, so after sundown all lights are turned off. At a certain number of miles away from shore, you can dump your poop and your food scraps into the ocean. Certain kinds of metals are allowed to be thrown in as well, that is, soda cans, due to the ocean's ability to eat things up. Also, sea lions are disgusting, evil, terrifying creatures. Duck sea lions. That you always offer help to anyone who might need it or be in trouble. Because one day you might be in their position and you'll need someone's help. And hopefully they would give you the same courtesy of helping that you gave someone else. Okay. So once on deployment in the Indian Ocean while on board the USS Constellation, we came across what must have been hundreds of camel carcasses floating in the water. The only explanation I ever got was that it was a part of a smuggling deal, and they were switching out cargo in order to take on contraband. This way they have a legal bill of lading from the port they just left to show at the next port of call. Minus the camels, of course. The sailors aboard the merchant vessel like to use live animals because instead of having to physically throw the cargo overboard, they could just herd the animals off the edge of the boat. We never saw any other vessels in the area at the time, and probably couldn't have done anything about it anyways because international waters etc. It was one of the weirdest things I have ever seen. About halfway between Hawaii and Japan there's an area that submarine sonar can hear sounds like crystal bells. Nobody knows what the hell it is, but it's creepy. We always called it aliens. How easy it is to run over a whale. It happens way more often than one would first assume. We hit one once. Hard. The official Navy report said struck whale. No apparent damage to ship. No apparent damage to whale. Whale swam away and went deep. By swam away they meant the two half sunk to the bottom. It's freaking terrifying. Waves 50 foot high. Taller than the mast on a sailboat, even with the bridge of a large naval ship. Your ship heeling over far enough that the aircraft elevator is all but touching the water. People caroming off one wall to the other trying to walk. I hate the frigging ocean.